Hello and welcome back to PAO Fans International Podcast. The Americans are back again. It's looking like it's just me and Alex today. Alex, it's been a couple weeks since we spoke, man. How are you?
Good. A little more tired today than usual, because of the Super Bowl, but other than that, good.
Yeah, man. Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Those of us here in the US, we were all watching the Super Bowl yesterday. It was nice to see a green and white team take it home and win. And, I kind of added some positive vibe to a somewhat pretty sad weekend for Ball FC fans. Just kind of wanted to start off this episode with just expressing our condolences to Ikonomopoulos, the legendary goalkeeper for Panathinaikos, also a part of that 1971 team. He was a part of it with Mimis Domazos. We just wanted to, express our condolences to him. He did pass away today, few hours before this podcast. So just wanted to share that, a legend of the club. Um, Again, I hear stories from my grandpa, he's a Balk fan, but my papa always tells me some crazy stories about Ikonomopoulos, like some of the crazy saves that he pulled out. It's sad, we're getting to this age where we're starting to lose some of these legends. Of course, I never got to see him in his prime. That was way before I was born, but it's cool to go on YouTube and see some highlights from him. So just kind of wanted to pay our respects there a little bit to him. Did you want to add anything to Ikonomopoulos, Alex?
Yeah, it's just, it's tough. Obviously, it's tough losing these legends, but especially losing these two guys in such close proximity to each other, uh, makes it a little tougher. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make it okay, it doesn't make it better. But, like you said, we are kind of entering an age where those 71 guys are all kind of the same age themselves in that 80, 85 range. And this is kind of just going to become more common in a way. I don't know. Sounds kind of grim saying that, but that's just kind of the reality of it. And it's sad. And, at least they brought our club glory and, you know, we're still living off of that glory and happy memories that they brought us. So their legacy is lasting generations, which is the beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. I'm sure the club will be having some type of memorial or something up for him, just like we saw for Mimis Domazos last week. Um, Kind of just segueing, staying on the topic of FC. We recently had a couple of games, one in the cup, one in the league. The cup game came first, so that's what we'll kind of discuss. It was against our arch rivals, Olympiacos. Unfortunately, we ended up losing that game. It was a heartbreaker. Honestly, the way that we lost that game was kind of tough. Um, did we play the best? No. But to lose the way that we did, I felt like, oh man, it was just a heartbreaker. I would have rather lost any other way than just that wonder goal from Muzakitis. Just looking at the stats, I mean, Olympiacos had more shots. They had 17 shots, four on target versus us, seven shots, zero on target. They had the majority of possession. They had more fouls. We didn't really have as many fouls as them. They had about half more than we did. But realistically, we didn't play the best game. I watched the entire game. Didn't threaten all that much. There was that one chance at the end where, before we ate that goal with Juricic, Olympiacos gets the penalty, questionable penalty, misses the penalty. I mean, he just like, I don't know, he banged it off the top post or something like that. It was just a horrible miss. Juricic just completely dribbles past their entire back line, and all he has to do is just place it past the keeper, and he just skies it over. Olympiacos counterattack. Ingeson clears the ball. One time hit from Muzakitis, lights out. Panathinaikos is out of the cup. Um, Alex, what were your kind of thoughts like watching this game? Did you think while watching it, it was just pure domination from Olympiacos? Do you think we could have stole the win somehow?
Um, I think a lot of the stuff that we're going to say about the two games that we have to cover are pretty similar. They kind of had a lot of similarities. So focusing on the first one, on the Olympiacos game, Cup game, I thought in the first half we weren't horrible. We didn't create many let me say this. We didn't create many classic chances, but we did have the ball quite a bit compared to the second half. There were some bright spots. Vagiannidis played very well that game, especially in the first half. All the attacks were going through him. We were playing heavy on the right side. All the attacks were starting from him and then moving upfield. Obviously, Tete getting involved on the right. Um, we didn't really have that final effort, like to get a lot of good chances, shots on target, shots off target, whatever. But the buildup and all that was quite promising. So I wasn't super upset by the first half, but then the second half was just completely different story. Like you could tell Olympiacos was coming into the game more and more as the minutes went by. They were looking more threatening, and obviously that was capitulated by their eventual penalty, whether it was bullshit or not, their eventual penalty, which they missed, and then I don't know. It was a wonder goal, but you could see that coming for the whole half. It kind of is in a way almost a miracle it took us until like the 92nd minute to eat one, right? Because it could have easily been in the 60th, 65th minute, 70th minute, whatever, the way they were, coming into the game and we weren't. We were fading. Um, so we didn't deserve to go through. I think that's pretty, it's like you said, it sucks the way it ended. But at the end of the day, we could have been like, we didn't deserve to go through. It just would have been better if we lost in the 60th minute, let's say, instead of just keeping out hope until the very end. And with extra time on the horizon, then you're like anything can happen. And extra time, even if you play shit, all right, you have 30 minutes, you squeeze toward to penalty, then anything can happen, really. And we were getting shades of that cup tie against Olympiacos last year. It was almost carbon copy. Drew the first leg, drew the second leg. That's where this one was heading until stoppage time. Penalties, Lodigan heroics. Again, Lodigan was in goal in this one. It was almost carbon copy. And I was like almost not that I was like not watching the game. I was watching the game, but in my mind I was like, this is going to penalties, right? Like the story's too good. It's just history repeating itself, and then we ate it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's my exact thought when it was El Kaabi that missed the penalty, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I think there's some stat where he hasn't been able to score against us. Like he scores against everybody else but us.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
missed the penalty. I was like, wow, he's finally gonna score and it's gonna be a penalty. How cheap. And he missed the penalty. And I'm like, wow, okay, so this is gonna go just like you said. I'm like, this is going to penalties. It's gonna be a repeat of last year. But I agree with you. We definitely weren't the better side. Especially in this second game, I was just kind of like, yeah, it was rough. It looked like maybe we were gonna be one of those teams where you kind of just like steal the win, especially with that Juricic attempt at the end. I'm like, dude, we're about to steal this and just kind of go through. But yeah, I wasn't, like you said, it's kind of a culmination in both games. I wasn't very happy with the performance in this cup game. One bright side, I guess. I mean, again, you always want to compete and win in all competitions. I guess a kind of bright side, maybe this is cope, but that's one less thing to worry about, I guess. But I mean, after this weekend's result, I mean, is there really, a lot to look forward to now with this club? But if we kind of, just talk about the Aris game now. We ended up losing that game too. 2-0. We played in that was in Harilao, right? In Thessaloniki.
We can
Uh,
leave this, yeah.
Vikilides, yeah. And so ended up losing that one 2-0. You know, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not just saying this like as I knew it from all along. As soon as I saw the quotes that Uzunidis and Karipidis and all this, they're making these announcements. €1 million bonus if we beat Panathinaikos. If we get
Oh, I
fourth
didn't see
place.
that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I was seeing these quote. I mean, this could be fake. I don't know, but I was seeing like these things like the huge bonus if we beat Panathinaikos, huge bonus if we get fourth spot. So naturally, I mean, that obviously is going to motivate the players. So I'm thinking, man, if I'm at Lafuzos, I'm gonna clap back. €1 million bonus if we beat Aris. Clap back. He was giving bonuses when Terim was here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, hey,
And with Yova, I think, yeah.
he was having out, yeah, he was handing it out like
Yeah.
like carameles, man. So I'm like, all right, look, let me give a bonus too to rile my players up, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I'll be honest, because I missed the game live, so I kind of went off of what everybody else was saying and what I was seeing on Twitter. It was kind of coming off as if like Panathinaikos was just like completely outplayed from the beginning. I took a look. I mean, it didn't look like we were like completely outplayed from the get-go. It looked like, especially like the first 25 minutes or so, we had like two, three chances that like barely went wide. Like we could have gone up, a couple goals early on. We just weren't able to finish, which has been like the key problem for us this season. It was more of that. I'm like, I got their stats up. 11 shots for us, 13 for them, six on target for them, two on target for us. Okay, you can definitely argue they were the more accurate with their shots there. We had more possession, way more passing, way better passing accuracy, almost 10% difference there. They had 16 fouls, we had eight. Um, and it was just like, yeah, man, I don't really know what to make of it other than that like this team needs to figure out, how to put the chances away. Um, I'm not gonna lie. Something that's kind of concerning me a little bit, and I saw some Panathinaikos fans mentioning this on X. Ioannidis is kind of concerning me a little bit. Like, I feel like this season he's too up and down. Like, he'll score a penalty, then he'll kind of go missing. He doesn't really impact the game as much as he did last year, and that might be because they defend him a little bit differently this year. Um, but man, dude, like we're gonna need that consistent week in, week out guy that we can rely on. And I'm not gonna lie, like this season, I really haven't seen anybody be able to step up and be the guy. Tete fell off. Pelistri's been good, but he hasn't been the guy. Ioannidis, who I was expecting and hoping would be him, kind of hasn't been him this season. Um, it was Juricic had really good form this year, but again, I feel like we need that striker, we need that main scorer to kind of almost like in basketball where we have like a Kendrick Nunn or we have a Sluka, somebody to save our tail. Feels like the AFC, we've got the talent, but we don't have the guy to save our tail in a situation like this where it's like you need that goal to get yourself back into the game and it never comes. Now that's just kind of my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna backtrack a little because we're all over the place. But I'm gonna backtrack to something you said in the beginning, which was how we didn't really play that bad in the first half, and I agree with that. I think it's a lot of doom and gloom right now because it obviously table wise, this hurts us a lot. And the performance over 90 was not positive. I'm not going to argue that it was. But if you look at the first 45, I don't think it was that bad. We outshot him in the first half. And I think we actually overall had the better chances. I think there's three instances off the top of my head where I think there was some pretty good chances. One was the very first one, which was the Mladenovic shot from the left side. Unahi played the ball from the top of the box. Mladenovic was way open on the left in the box, right in front of the 6 yard box, and he just dragged it with his left foot wide of the goal. That was one. He should have gotten on target there and tested the keeper, but still he was in a very good advanced position. The second one was the Juricic shot after a very nice play. Tete played it to Tete on the right side of the box, played it into the box to Charon, I think, and then Charon made a small pass to Juricic, who was at the penalty area, and then got a shot on target, forced a save from Cuesta to his left. The only problem with that is that he didn't get a lot of pace on the shot. If he had gotten a little more on the shot, that would have I think likely gone in because it still even without a lot of pace on the ball force a good save from Cuesta, so a little more would have beaten him. I think that was two, and then the third one was Tete, who got it crossed from the left side from Mladenovic over Fotti's head. Tete was completely alone on the back post in the 6 yard box, and then just skied it not only over but wide. But positionally, he couldn't have been in a better spot. He probably should have headed instead of using the inside of his boot. But that was three very, very good chances. And a fourth, just to add another one. I don't put as much weight on this one because it's a long shot, but Maximovic had a very nice long shot, top of the box, hit it very well, just to the right of Cuesta, who dove. He might have been beaten if it was on target. And it marginally missed the post on the right side of his goal. So that's four good, very good chances, I think. Three if you want to exclude the long shot. That I think one of those three should have probably found the net. The best one maybe was Juricic's, which was on target, and again a little more pace would have beaten Cuesta. But anyway, that was a long spiel. All to say that I don't think we actually played that poorly in the first half. We definitely had chances. We had high quality chances, I think, and we had more chances. I think a fair result at the end of the first half would have been us ahead, or if at very worst, 1-1. But I definitely hard done to be down 1-0 at half. Dagger to concede right before the half. That probably had an effect on our psychology in the second half because we know what transpired in the second half. But yeah, overall was not great, but I did not think this one was as bad as the Olympiacos one, where we didn't even muster a shot on target for 90 minutes. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that was yeah. Yeah, I was watching it and I'm like, okay, I was fully expecting because again, I didn't watch the game live. I was fully expecting like we just like laid over and just let them run amok on us. But like the first 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, we're actually like you said, there was like four good chances and he with Maximovic, even though it was off target, he did have Cuesta beat. Like if that was on
Yep.
target, I think that was going in. It was a good shot. You know, realistically, we looked better than the Olympiacos game. Yeah, we did. And again, like looking at the stats as well, for the most part, we're evenly matched. And we were better with possession and passing. It was just again that finishing let us down. Again, that Mladenovic shot again could have tested the keeper. I agree. Um, just yeah, our shooting boots are missing, and it's like it's catching up. We kind of mentioned it. I think it was around Christmas time as well. My hope was that, like, law of averages, right? You kind of go through a shooting slump, then it should kind of uptick again. And you should start to kind of find your feet. But it's seeming like we're still in this slump where we're not able to kind of finish these games. Again, last week was cool. We came back 3-2. Um, but it's like we don't want to dig ourselves into holes. We just want to kind of control the game. I feel like we haven't, been able to control the game, kind of put our stamp on it, in terms of just scoring the goals. It looked like we did things right, especially that first half hour, and it just kind of completely fell apart.
What really bothered me about the game Thursday, other than obviously losing to our rivals and crashing out of the cup, is that I really wanted to take what we did last weekend against Offi and build on it, not take a step back, right? Because we mentioned a couple weeks ago when we were on how, we haven't really been the same since that Panathinaikos game, right? Where, it was the Dragowski antics, drop points. We were obviously ahead, what was it, 2-0, then 2-1, then 2-2 ultimately. Um, Ever since that game, and I'm not even just talking about the drop points specifically in that game, but that I think affected us in the following games. We've had 6 or 7 games since then, and most of them have not been positive performance wise. Forget about the actual result. Performance wise, I don't think they've at large been positive. There's been some positivity in there. I think against Ajax we were not bad. Probably deserved the win. Obviously, second half against Offi we were excellent. First half we were atrocious. But only let's say 1 or 2, not even 3 games out of those 6 or 7 games in that span have we been really good. So team hasn't been the same since that Panathinaikos game. I was hoping that the second half in Offi was, kind of our page turner where we put that bad stretch behind us. And I kind of wanted to build on that in the cup game. And then it just was completely not the case. Like just completely were flat, and it just felt like a big step back, like kind of trying to climb out of the hole that we're in performance wise, maybe psychologically a little bit. And it just felt like we just fell back down into the hole. Because okay, everyone's gonna go through bad patches. That's normal. You got to come out of that bad patch. And sometimes you need, like that second half against Offi, you need that miracle, that wondrous kind of um whatever you want to call it, to help you get out. But then just to kind of not see it built upon immediately, just 4 days later, really is kind of the thing that stings the most, maybe for me.
No, I definitely agree. Like I thought that the Aris game was, I don't know if you had said it or maybe somebody else said it. I'm sorry, the Olfi game last week was gonna be kind of like our Monaco game last year, like for the BC, where it's like that flip, that turnaround,
Yeah, I
with
think I
that
said
buzzer
that. Yeah,
beater. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it was you. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, this was like a huge win. You listen to Vitoria's speech after the game, like I got pumped up, dude. I posted it on my story. I'm like, yeah, man, like this is what you like to see this from the team. And he mentions it. He's like, guys, he's like, okay, like don't be complacent. Don't come out and let yourselves fall behind again and fight back each time. We need to come out with the hunger and the conviction and fight from the first minute. And it's like we didn't see that against Olympiacos in the cup. We kind of saw it the first half hour or so against the Aris, but then it's like I don't know, the team's just flat. And you know, uh, I agree. Like Sturge was talking about this in the chat. I think Sturge was mentioning it with somebody. I think maybe it was with Nick, and just kind of like showing what the fans have been saying on X. And it's like we lose a game, and like the easy thing to do is immediately blame Alafuzos. And I agree, honestly. I don't think like in this case with us losing against Aris, the easy thing is to just flip it on Alafuzos and get pissed off and all this stuff. But it's like also, in my opinion, is down to the players, is down to the form, and is down to finding a way to win. Like I'm just saying, like these are themes that have been going along. We got Swiderski, we've got Ioannidis, the guy that's supposed to be kind of he's supposed to be like the Karagunis of this generation for us, right? He's supposed to be the star player, right? The star guy of the team, the Elina, right? But it's like he hasn't been in form this season. Like granted he had some injury problems. But it's kind of like it comes down to this times like these, the owner can't go down onto the pitch and play. You as the players, you guys have to kind of find the way, find the conviction, like Victoria says, find a way to put the ball in the back of the net. The coach isn't playing on the pitch, and it's like for me, it's a lot of this comes down to the players. I mean,
yeah,
you can't come down and you can't play, half-hearted. Can't play for 20, 30 minutes, go down and put your head down. Last week we fought back. You got to come out and fight every single game that way. It can't just be, picking and choosing. We have a title to try to win. We're going on this huge drought. And it's like, again, maybe I mentioned this in the podcast last year. Maybe it's just the weight, the varos, right? They have all this weight on their shoulders that like, oh man, the each year that's passing, the drought gets bigger. Are we the team to win it? Maybe it's a psychological thing up on Panathinaikos. It's been so many years to where it's like each team maybe just gets more and more pressure to try to win it, but something has to change. Like the team needs a leader, in my opinion. Like again, I keep drawing parallels to basketball. Again, two different sports, but look at Panathinaikos basketball, right? In the doldrums, and then you get a guy like Slukas, you get a leader, the whole thing just flipped. This team, I think, needs a leader. It needs some type of some presence. I don't know. Somebody on the pitch to kind of take the game by the horns and just put it on himself to just get the win. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of like going on a tirade, but that's just what I've been noticing watching this team the past month.
yeah. I don't know what to add. You said it pretty well. Obviously, the Alafusos. Okay, the problem is that like we often look for scapegoats, right? And
Yeah.
it's not just us. Sports fandom is like that. Um, but specifically talking about us and this situation right now, Alafusos is the easiest scapegoat on the planet, right? Like he is the
Yep.
easiest scapegoat on the planet. Um, and he has his faults and all. We don't have to go into that. That's been well documented. But this is not his fault, obviously. Like you said, he can't go down and play. He has only control over the things he can control, which he might be doing well or not well, but that's not relevant to this game specifically. We put out a good 11. Um, then it's up to the coach, it's up to the players. The other thing I want to say is that, and we've talked about this in the past, there's always catastrophizing whenever we lose a game. We're gonna lose games. We don't go the whole season undefeated. It's
Right.
a very competitive league. The top four is very equal for now a couple of years. The fifth team is clearly capable of beating us because they just did. So top five, very competitive, even six, seven, eight. The league is very competitive in general. Um, we've said that before. That's not news. But all I'm trying to say is we're gonna lose games. I don't think, and this might be a hot take, I don't think whenever we lose a game first of all, okay, this is not a hot take. Whenever we lose a game, it doesn't have to be catastrophizing. That's a normal take, I think. My hot take, perhaps, is it doesn't always have to be someone's massive fault. And by that, I mean, it doesn't have to be Alafusos because obviously he's not at fault here, but it also doesn't have to be the players. I think we could call them out for not giving 100% seemingly over 90 minutes, but you're going to lose games. And not every time that you lose a game are you going to be good because then you wouldn't lose the game. It's not all just luck. Sometimes you're just off your game. It happens. It's sports. And it doesn't have to be like we don't have the players that are built for it. No, it just you lose games. I don't know what else to say. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like it's always we lose and it has to be this massive like so what, this massive so what statement. Like I have to preach words of wisdom because I'm pointing fingers here and I'm pointing fingers here and I know exactly what the problem is. The problem is you just lose games sometimes. That's sports. Is someone at fault when you lose a game? Yeah, someone is probably at fault, but it doesn't have to be this massive, you know, so what thing.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And that sounds like I'm kind of complacent with losing. I'm not. I just think it's more of a reality than we kind of admit. And I think the more maybe constructive thing is let's look at the bad run that we're having, not just this Aris game, because this Aris game is not an isolated incident. It's the Aris game, it's the Olympiacos game, and in my opinion, it's the run since that Panathinaikos game. So what's been going on in that span, and what needs to change? Because that is the key right there in my opinion, rather than being like the players are not up to it, the coach is not up to it, the owner's not up to it.
Yeah, yeah, I think it comes down to like what I was saying earlier too. I think it's this Anjos, right? We haven't won a title since like me and you were like 12, right? 12, 13. So I think it's every year that something just like implodes around, and it's always around this time. I don't know if you've noticed. It's like
Yep, yep.
you're still getting at like January,
February.
February. Yeah, like always we just implode. So I think it's just this like this angst in the fan base where it's like we have to figure out what's the problem. Of course, the always the number one thing in sports is the owner, right? You can blame
Yeah.
Malafuzos, and like we said, that's a horse that we could beat, but that's neither here nor there, right? Players, right? Look, I just did it right now. I just went out on the players. Coaching, we've seen it blamed on the coaching before as well. It's just this weird thing with this team, man, where it's like I just think I credit this with Nick. I just keep bringing up this Anquos, and as the years kind of keep piling on, I remember him mentioning this. It's just I don't know. Maybe it just it creates this like angst of aura around the club, and it's like everybody or somebody just has to find the answer. That's like the human nature in us is to like know the answer. We need to figure out what's the problem, and if we do this, it's gonna change, right? Perfect example, I think, is this summer. We got some really good players. I like our squad. I like the players, right? This is probably the best. We were all saying in the summer, right? This is probably the best squad we've had since like '09, right? '10 or
Now they're
2010.
not now they're not good enough all of a sudden.
And now it's like they're not good enough. Yeah. And then it's like then we blamed Alonso, right? Then we got Victoria. I love Victoria, right? It's like, oh, is it Victoria's fault that we're losing? And then Papa Dimitriou, right? We all have our opinions, whatever. I'm not gonna say what I think about it, but then there's the Papa Dimitriou thing. There's like so many different angles and like so many different things going on to where it's like it's just it's baffling. Like it's just this club is just like so baffling, and I agree. Like I think the general idea is like, yeah, you do lose games sometimes, but with us, I think it just magnifies and we just explode it 10 times because it's like, dang, another year without a Prodathliman. Like so then we just blow up on everybody and everything, and I'm guilty of that. I'll be honest. I was like, we need to like get a new coach, whatever. Not with Victoria, but just in years past. I'll blow up on the coach, I'll blow up on the players, whatever it is. And yeah, it's just this angst, dude. And it's like, how long are we gonna go without a title?
A week ago, sorry, how long are we gonna go without a title is a good point, but a week ago we were praising our players for the fight they showed in the second 45 just a week ago, and now they're not good enough. This is in
Yeah.
7 days. This is in 7 days.
Yeah.
Something's not lining up. And listen, just because something happened 7 days ago doesn't mean it has to be the case today. But
Right.
these are the same human beings.
Right.
No, nothing drastic mentally, psychologically is going to change in 7 days that you're going to say 7 days ago they gave it their all 110% to come back in 45 minutes, and then a week later they gave it negative 10%. These are the same
Right.
human beings, and
Yeah.
it's only 7 days. So yes, they might have an off day 7 days after they make a amazing comeback, but they can't be gods 7 days ago and now they're not up to it. I don't know. Personally, I don't think that that checks out in my book. Um,
Yeah. No, that's logical because yeah, exactly. Look, case in point myself, right? Like I just keep saying, last week I'm like, all right, we came back, we fought. This is gonna be our monocle for the for the FC. Then, yesterday's game happens, more so the Olympiacos game, and I'm like, all right, step it up. Kind of get it together. And it's like, yeah, I guess it's just so frustrating because it's the up and down. It's definitely this like up and down, like inconsistency, I'd say. Because I'd say like you look at Olympiacos, right? Olympiacos has been pretty good for like the last few months. Like they're just consistently good, and you see them kind of ramping up and getting better. And us, it's weird, man. Like we'll kind of we'll get a victory. Like I don't. That was our first league loss since like September, right?
something like that, yeah.
September
Man,
30th or something
that's
like that.
not September 30th, really that long? Wow.
I believe so. Yeah, in
Crazy.
the league. Um.
Yeah.
So like yeah, we're getting results. We're getting results. But then it's like if you look at the performances, like you said, like the Panseriakos game, is like things haven't been consistent since then. It's kind of like we'll pull out a win, we'll kind of play a little bit bad. That first leg against Olympiacos, I think about kind of our complaints with that 1-1 of how we played. Second game, we didn't deserve that win at all. We ended up losing. Then the Aris game, 20, 30 minutes of really good ball, and then we kind of just like floundered a little bit. So it's like we're in this weird patch and it's at the most crucial time too. So it's like and it happens all the time every year, like we say at the
Yeah. It's been like what, 3 years in a row now?
yeah.
It really started with that when we botched the 11-point lead. It was around
Yep.
this time. It was late January, early February when like we were really botching that lead. And then ever since that was 22, right? That was
Yeah, I was
22.
20, 22.
And
Yep.
then 23, 24, 25. I think every year it's been same thing at this time of year. Listen, it's not unusual though. I think teams often see a dip in form around this time of year. Um, I don't have hard facts to back that up, but it's just something that I feel like is the case. I could be wrong. Um, I don't know because it's also weird because there's no Europe going on. This is like when the European break is, obviously January, and like half of February. I don't know. I don't know. I agree with the Ancos. I agree with the the cold feet about the title. I also don't know how much that's in the players' minds. I think that's more in the fans' minds, but the players, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Let me say this. It's certainly more in the fans' minds rather than the players' minds. I don't think the
Yeah.
players are going out every day on the pitch and thinking, "Oh, this club hasn't won a title in 15 years." Half of them might not even know that, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say it'd probably be more if it is in the heads, probably in the Greek players' heads than anything.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
not on the
Foti and that, Foti
yeah.
Baka, yeah, sure.
Bakasetas, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Vagianidis, I'm
Yeah.
sure too. He's a Panathinaikara, but
Vianney wasn't even born in the last title.
yeah, so it's like yeah, he wasn't even conscious. Like
Yeah.
it's bad, dude. It's yeah, it
Yeah.
I mean, I
No,
know.
we're joking about it. It sucks, obviously. I'm not trying to, again, I want to emphasize that just because I think I'm saying like, hey, you lose games at sports. I'm not saying it's okay. Like it
Yeah.
sucks. And like I said, the fans are thinking about the title drought the most out of everyone for sure. And it hurts us. And we think about it all the time. We talk about it all the time. And every year we're like, okay, now it's 14, now it's 15. Already now we're saying this is the 15th year. Hey, we're 5 points behind. We're going to 16 now. Like
Yeah.
we're already talking about that. So it's in our minds. But I guess I could use this as a segue to say now we're -5 from the top. Okay. We're -5. There's 10 games left, six playoffs, four regular season. How do you feel?
I'm gonna be honest. That for me, that Aris game was must win. Like 5 points is not the worst because thank God Olympiacos dropped 2 points. Again, though, this is one of those things where it's like our opponents drop points. We need to take advantage. We drop the ball. Whenever the destiny's in our own hands, we tend to like choke it. And I mean, we're -5 now, and who knows? I can't predict the future, but with the way we've been playing in terms of like our inability to score, and just kind of command and control the game, and the way Olympiacos is playing right now in February, I don't know. I can't see us winning the title, I'll be honest. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Um, I think I have to agree. Like 5 points is not the end of the world. For me, I'm gonna say this. I think it's still doable. A lot of us have pointed out that, kind of the goal would be -3 by the time of playoffs. If we're within one game by the start of playoffs, then we could, have a chance of flipping it. So what I'm gonna say is I think it's doable. The job just got harder. It means really, I agree yesterday was a must win, but I think this just means that it's absolutely no slip ups for the final four games of the regular season, which knock on wood, it should be okay. I know we said the same thing last year, and then under Tareem, we ended up losing we ended up dropping back to back pretty
Yeah.
simple games like La Mia and Kifisia, I
Seattle.
think it was. Kifisia, yeah. So he said the same thing last year. We were kind of in the same position. I think it was 5 games left in the season last year, and we were saying 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 15 points, and then we're in business come playoffs. And we did not go 5 out of 5. Let's just say that. So hopefully this is not a repeat of history, but I'm just gonna say I think it does need to be 4 out of 4 for us to have a hope in the playoffs. And hopefully if we go 4 out of 4, we do close the gap for -5 because the good part is that Olympiacos has a couple more derbies left. I think they have AEK and they have Aris, if I'm not mistaken. So if we do our job and go 4 out of 4 and just hope that they just even just draw one of those games, we're back at -3, right? So
Do they have Aris or PAOK? I'm hoping it's PAOK. Because I'm gonna be honest.
uh definitely AEK, right? Definitely AEK.
Ike, yeah, they haven't played Ike yet. Ike, we
They
need
have they have PAOK, yes,
PAOK. Yeah,
yes,
they still have to play PAOK. So
yes. Within a week, oh, oh, they have a bad week. Okay, they have Sunday the 23rd, they have PAOK home in Piraeus. Then they have the first leg of the cup against AEK midweek. And then a week after the PAOK game, they have AEK away. So they have three derbies within a week, two of them against AEK, one against PAOK. So they have a bad little run at the end of the month. So that's what I'm saying. If we do our job and go 4 out of 4, there's every chance that they drop at least something, and then we're back to -3, whereas kind of that's our target. And just to forecast a little bit, our four are fairly straightforward. I know that's saying a lot considering we're kind of in this rut that we're talking about, but it's Volos this weekend. 1 second. It's Volos this weekend, and it's not including any. I'm just talking strictly league. Volos this weekend, La Mia away. Volos is home. La Mia away. Panetolikos home. Atromitos away. So, okay, I'm not Atromitos. They're right there in the middle of the table, and they're pushing for that 5 through 8 playoff. So they've got something to play for. Panetolikos, I think same. None of these you can take lightly, but we got no derbies. Olympiacos has derbies, so we just got to do our job 4 out of 4, I think, and then I think we're all right.
yeah, yeah. It's it's funny. Okay, Olympiacos again. They've got PAOK. We need PAOK and Ike to kind of do us a solid there and kind of take some points off of them. It just comes down again. Like I feel like the team just needs to maybe win our trust again. Unfortunately, and then if you had told me, Nick said this too. If you had told me back in September that we wouldn't lose a game in the league until yesterday, I would have laughed. And it's true. But it's like now that we've entered this crucial time, I'm kind of going back to it again. that's when we're starting to waver a little bit. And I'm just like, are we gonna implode again? That's where I'm a little bit worried about. I'm not worried about Olympiacos in terms of their derby week there, they're bound to drop something. Um, but it's more so like we have the destiny in our hands again. This is kind of like a replay of last year, like you mentioned, right? With Kifisya and everybody. We need to get all these wins. Are they going to pull it out? Like, is this going
Yep.
to be the year that we finally do it? Because if you remember, like last year, and I think it was the year before that when we blew that 11-point lead, we ended up losing the league because of those those must win games, those on paper
Yeah.
wins basically were worthy
Yeah.
superior to our opponents. All due respect, but it's true. And that's where I'm like Panathinaikos in this sport needs to kind of win my trust again, to where it's like, yeah, we're playing Volos. Are we gonna win or are we gonna, you know, choke it? So it's like we need to come out. I say it again, but we need to step on the throats as soon as we come out against Volos. Try to have a statement. Try to have a statement game. Try to have a statement win. Um, I've been liking how we play under Rui besides this little rough patch, but I'm also waiting for us to start to kind of command a game and to kind of come out with that statement win because I don't think we've really had that yet. So it's just gonna come down to it. In my opinion, I think I'm being cautiously pessimistic.
Cautiously pessimistic.
Yeah, I'm being cautiously pessimistic because the last few years I got my hopes up and yeah,
Yeah.
skatasta mutramo, like you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
it was bad. So yeah, man, I don't know. I'm yeah. I mean, I kind of now, I mean, for the first time in what 10, 15 years as well, we're playing in February, Europe as well. So we're kind of balancing that in the mix. We've got Viking
Yeah.
coming up on Thursday. So um yeah,
I
man.
will I will say this about the playoffs. Obviously, I think everyone kind of agrees that the -3 is where we want to be, and somewhat realistic too. Obviously, you want to be top come playoffs, but we're talking about realistic goals here with only 4 games left in the regular season. So I think -3 is a realistic and also kind of happy place that we could be. But it's still not going to be easy. The ever since the playoff format started, there's only been one instance where the leader of the uh league table at the end of the regular season did not go on to win the playoffs also, and that was obviously with us. When we botched the 11-point lead, we finished the regular season even though the lead was getting smaller. December, January, February, by March it was essentially I think only 2 points. We still finished the league top of the league table at the end of the regular season, and we're the only team since that format started to not uh continue to lead the league until the end of the playoffs. So my point is that just it's not going to be easy. Even at -3, that's where we want to be realistically. But we'd have to do something that rarely happens, which is be the team that's not the league leader at the end of the regular season and ultimately win the league at the end of the playoffs. So still not an easy task.
Yeah, Panathinaikos breaking records, just not the ones that we want, right? Crazy, man. Crazy. Now okay, we've got Vikingur. So now we've added some, we've got something extra in our little schedule that we got going on. I'm not gonna lie. I think we could win this one. This Vikingur again, it's a doable. I think it was a favorable draw. I don't even think this is the team where they're not even playing in their home stadium, right? Like we're playing in Finland or something.
We're in Helsinki, yeah, at Bolt Arena. Was that where we was that is that Helsinki actual stadium? I don't know. I know it's in Helsinki, Bolt Arena. I don't know who
Bolt Arena.
play. I don't know who plays in Bolt Arena.
Uh,
Uh,
Helsinki. Yep.
Helsinki. Okay, so we've oh no, we played Helsinki at home, did we?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay. So we haven't been there. We haven't been there. But yes, we are playing over there coincidentally.
Yeah.
Um I think yes, I think this is obviously very doable. It's not an opponent that we have to be worried about, I don't think. You got to take everyone, you got to respect every opponent at this stage, especially in Europe where like we don't have our footing just yet because of just all the things that have transpired in the past few years, but this is someone that we should beat. Um Yeah, I don't know much about them specifically. They're not playing at their home stadium, so that's obviously a big plus for us. They'll probably have some fans traveling because it's not, it's still northern Europe, uh, compared to Iceland where it would be if they played at home. So they'll have some fans. I don't know what our following is going to be, but I I I would say not even a draw. I'd say a win, just straight up.
Yeah, I definitely say so as well. I think we got this in terms of things going in our favor. Again, like you mentioned, right? They're playing in Bolt Arena. They're not even playing in their own home country. I think they're from Iceland, right? Um, so it's like, they're playing away. We're both playing an away game, basically. I think we have the superior squad. Um, Now my question is kind of ties in with our last convo as well. I've seen people mention like just go all in for conference now. Forget the league. What's kind of your opinion on that?
I don't personally believe in this like go all in for this. I think you go all in for everything. That's my personal opinion. Like these are professionals. We're not we have our issues obviously, but we're not a small club. Small clubs are clubs that prioritize this over that, in my opinion. And that's not what I would categorize us as, despite our issues. So this prioritize this over that is not something I really believe in at this level. Um, I don't think we didn't prioritize the cup, for example, or I think we prioritize everything as long as you're in it. You go to win, and that's professionalism and that's competitiveness. Um, at the end of the day, we're still in two competitions. We're very much in conference league, and we're still, I'm going to say, very much in the league, despite being -5. Um, Listen, if we lose next week or something against Bolos, and then we go -8, we could have another conversation. But at this point, you're still very much in two competitions. I don't think there's any prioritizing one or the other. You go out, you play to win, and everything is winnable in front of you. You should be beating a team like Vikingur, and you should be beating Volos next weekend, and then Lamia, and then Panetolikos, and then Vikingur again, and so on, so on. Like until it's literally out of reach, which like I keep emphasizing, it's not, in my opinion. It just got harder, like I said earlier, but it's not out of reach. Until it's actually out of reach, you go for everything. Um, I yeah. So I don't think we're gonna prioritize the cup over the league. You go and you beat Vikinger on Thursday, and you go and beat Volos on Sunday. Just simple as that.
Yeah, well put, well put. Yeah, you definitely don't want to kind of prioritize one or the other. In terms of just kind of like my thought process on it, process. Um, we I mean, again, I think we should get past the Vikinger. It's after that to where I'm like, all right, who are we gonna get? I at this point, I don't know how the bracket is. I don't know if we would avoid Chelsea, or really,
No, I don't remember, but we do know our opponent for the next, wasn't it? It was Fiorentina or Rapid. It's been
oh,
like a
it's
month or
Rapid.
so. There was two possible teams. It's not, we know like the pair who we're gonna
Yes,
get, but we don't know
Fiorentina
the
and
actual
Rapid.
opponent. I think it's Fiorentina and Rapid.
Yes.
Listen, like not you have to get past Vikinger first, of course. So like handle what's in front of you first and then worry about what's after that. This is the thing. Are you gonna say like I'm gonna throw Conference League because eventually I'm just gonna get a Chelsea? So like, what's the point? No,
Mhm.
that's not how it works, right? Like, even if you don't win Conference League, there's only one team out of 36 that wins these, right? Like, same thing
Yeah.
in Champions League, same thing in Europa, same thing in Conference. Like, there's only one team out of so many that wins these, and it's not like everyone else just like throws the towel because like you don't think you're gonna be the one team. Like, there's so many stakes here. We've talked so much about how important our European coefficient is. Um, and games like this, Vikinger twice, are a perfect opportunity to raise that. You beat them twice, a team you should be beating twice. You've just added to the coefficient. Then let's say you get Rapid, which is theoretically easier out of the two, between Fiorentina and Rapid. Okay. I'm not saying it's two free wins, but hey, you win one, you draw one, that's coefficient right there. Then after that, who knows who you're getting after that. But it's more than just lifting the trophy, especially given where we are in the position of rebuilding our European DNA, which is, we've talked infinitum about that. Um, so I don't yeah, I don't you win every game that is in front of you. And I'll put an analogy like, and maybe you'll like this analogy. I don't know if we've talked about this specifically, but obviously there's a lot of talk about, the NBA Cup in basketball and how it's like, a bullshit thing and like, it doesn't matter, like this and that, whatever. Like again, no one is going to argue that as much as the finals trophy. Like no one's going to argue that. But at the end of the day, it's still something to be won, right? And I saw
Right.
a really good tweet when the Bucks won it this year, how because everyone was ripping, that they just don't think it's worth watching or worth playing or this and that. And I saw a tweet from some journalist, not just a random person. It was a journalist who said, "Look at who's won the NBA Cup in its two iterations. Obviously, the Lakers and the Bucks, and who leads those teams? LeBron and Giannis, two of the greatest competitors in the NBA and in sports in general. Why? Because there's a game to be won in front of you, and you just win it. Whether it's the Champions League final, the Europa League final, the Conference League final, or the first round of the Greek Cup against fucking Parahaiki, let's say, whatever. Like, it's a game to be won, it's a trophy to be won. Good competitors, good competitive teams, just go out with one objective, win. And that's my opinion about this. You have the cup in front of you, no matter what round, no matter what opponent, you win. You have Conference League in front of you, no matter what round, no matter what opponent, you just go out and win. And that circles back to what I said before. That's why I don't believe in the, you know, prioritize this over this. You're in the competition, you go out to win.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. Yeah, you go all out in every competition. That's the nature of competing. Especially with this Panathinaikos team, especially with kind of the teams that we know that we could face up with. Fiorentina, again, they've been like back-to-back finalists in Conference League, I think. But they've shown to be kind of like a wishy-washy side at times where they can kind of choke things away. So you never know if we get them or if we get Rapid. We're very closely connected with our ultras at Panathinaikos.
Right.
It'll be interesting. It will definitely be interesting. Again, I guess the positive spin on it is at 5 points, -5 in the league, we're still competing. We're still in Europe at this time of year for the first time in many years. Um,
Decade and a half.
Decade and a half. So it's like, at least, there's something different this year. Hopefully we kind of build on it a little bit. Um, I think that's pretty much all I've got for FC. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on to basket?
No, I was just gonna point out about Vikingur. I was looking a little bit at their schedule. It looks like a lot of other Scandinavian countries. I know they're not technically in Scandinavia, but the Northern European countries, they have a weird kind of thing going on. So their most recent game was the 2nd of February. Okay, so they've played recently in what is listed here as the Icelandic Men's Football League Cup A. I don't know anything about the format of the Iceland League. And then they've had games all of January. They had 4 games in January. So they've had a normal um kind of workload. But look at this. In the 4 games they played in January, this was the total amount of goals scored in their games between both teams. 7, 7, 4, 5. They've conceded at least 2 goals in each of those games.
Wow, so their defense is pretty
They
weak.
lost on the 4th of January, they lost 6-1 to Reykjavik. On the 14th of January, they lost 5-2 to another Reykjavik team. On the 21st of January, they drew 2-2. On the 25th of January, they won 3-2. So again, at least 2 goals conceded in all of those games, only one win out of the 4. And then most recently was the 2nd of February, which they won 2-0 in the Iceland Men's Football League Cup A. The other ones were all Reykjavik Cup. Again, I don't, they're listed differently, so I don't know how the format is. But anyway, the important thing is that they're they're conceding goals. Like they're conceding goals.
Yeah.
That's all I could say. These are not good score lines. In two games, the first 2 games of January, they conceded 11 goals in just those 2 games. So yeah, this is not someone who we have to, with all due respect, fear. Um, and goal difference does not count now, but if you're able to, put a few past them and like win by say 2 or 3 goals, then that makes your job in Athens even more easy, and then you could maybe rotate a little more than you would otherwise. They lost to Djurgården, by the way. They lost to Djurgården 2-1, and I'm bringing that up obviously because we have experience with Djurgården.
Yep.
Um, they lost 2-1. Djurgården scored 2 goals in 3 minutes. Um, yeah, that they were home, Vikingur, by the way, for that game. I don't know what their home was for that game, but they were listed as home. Um,
Yeah. They're Yeah, their defense is definitely leaky, and that's something that maybe we could try to take advantage of. Again, we've kind of had our issues, our scoring woes, but especially in Europe, I think we could try to take advantage of that. Again, just on paper, we're not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but on paper, we're definitely the superior side. If you ask me, I think we have the better players. We're in the stronger league, um, and yeah, I mean, we just have to go in, kind of take care of business and see from there. And hopefully, in the next pod that we're on, we'll be able to kind of touch on that a little bit. I just kind of want to switch gears a little bit and get into the basketball. Um, so this was a pretty big week this past week that we had with Panathinaikos in basketball in Euroleague. A double win over the Turkish giants, Fenerbahce and Anadolu Efes. Fenerbahce came earlier in the week. I think it was on Tuesday last week. Uh, Pretty crazy game. Fener again are in second place, and they were on a really good run of form. And it was, neck and neck. They were starting to run away a little bit. We clawed back, and again, Slukas kind of does what he does at this time of the year, and hit some big shots. Came up with a huge steal at the end of the game, hit the free throws, and then Kendrick Nunn was able to bury the game and get the win with his free throws there. It's interesting because like Fenerbahce are again they're a very good basketball team coached by former Panathinaikos legend Yasuvekius. I can never say his name right. Um, he has that Fener team playing really good, and for whatever reason, Panathinaikos somehow tends to edge them out. I just think Ataman kind of has him figured out, if I'm being honest, since he was back at FS. I was really happy with the win. I wasn't able to watch that game live. I was able to catch the highlights and the big plays of that game. And a game that was a must win ended up being a win, regardless of us winning by 1 point. I think it was pretty big. Kind of, Alex, were you able to watch that one live at all?
yeah, that's Lucas at the end was just incredible, man. I think I actually might have said the Monaco comp about this game, not the Alpha game. Now that I'm like rethinking it in my head, I think I might have said it about this game, but it's applicable to both. So anyway, that's Lucas stuff was just like that's what you said. Like he just comes up at this time of year. He just I saw a funny meme that it was like like September through December, like does this dude even play basketball? Then January through like March, it's like MVP Slukas, and then playoffs like March through June, it's like Michael Jordan Slukas. So yeah, that's basically what we got. He basically won us the game there because like you said, he had that big steal, which we needed to get a stop on that possession. If they got a score on that possession, that was probably ice. But he got the big steal, which we needed, and then he drew the foul, made both shots, which was huge. And then obviously Nunn did his job on the. We played also really important to note. Nunn wouldn't have even had the opportunity to put the game to sleep if we hadn't played really good defense on their final possession because we forced them to take a pretty contested three. It was from the top of the key, but it was pretty contested and felt kind of rushed. So it wasn't the best look that Fener could have gotten, but our defense definitely forced that to happen, which obviously gave the opportunity for Nunn to rebound and then draw the foul and then ice the game from the line. But just from just the whole sequence, just from the point where Slukas stole the ball to Nunn icing the game. It was just perfection. Like you couldn't have that's how it needed to happen for us to win. If anything did not go, let's say, just as good in that sequence, we wouldn't have won the game. So we had to execute it perfectly and everything went perfectly, and that's why we were able to get the job done. So it was just that's what is so nice. That's what you live for, basically. Those kind of sequences where it's just a pleasure to watch and it's just straight hype, execution, leadership, everything.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's been like the positive with this basketball team is you kind of don't know what they're gonna pull out. Like a couple weeks back, came back from down like 20 against Zalgiris. And then with this Fener game, just kind of big plays, huge plays from the star players, um, to just kind of get the win. Again, Kostas Lukas, huge fan. Very, very happy that we ended up signing him. The last couple seasons, he's been huge for us. He comes up in those big moments. So really appreciated that defensive effort there, got that steal. Um, got the win against Fener, and then we ended up seeing that kind of translate over against Anadolu Efes. That game I was able to watch live. That was a good game. It was close pretty much the whole game until we started to kind of run away with it at the end. FS, if you remember, they torched us when we played them last time, and that was when DPG posted on his story about the bus that they were going to take the bus back to Greece. Very, very happy that we turned this around. We ended up winning by like double digits in the end. They were hot from three, man. Like they couldn't miss from three. Every time we'd hit, they'd hit back with the three. Every time we would hit, they would hit back. And it was just I'm like, man, this is gonna come down to the wire, and then just none ended up like erupting. I think he got like 36 points, um, almost tied his career high of 39 in the Euroleague. So I was kind of hoping he was gonna do that. Last couple of possessions, they didn't let him get the ball, but I wish he shot it a couple more times just to try to beat his old record with us. I was happy with it. Again, we tend to play very well at home. I agree with what Chris was saying in the chat. I think we need to start to see this team pull out some convincing wins on the road. Because again, it's one thing to win at home, and it's another thing to win, away. And the good thing is in the Greek league, we're actually the only team in Europe, in Euroleague to be undefeated in the domestic league still. So we've got coming up Lyon. So we've got Lyon Asvel playing in France. That's a must win. We should win that one. Um, our next home game is going to be against Real Madrid. Real Madrid, we're home. We kind of got that in our favor. We definitely need to get that win. Now, something interesting is we're going to have Olympiacos away. We're going to be playing them at CEF in EuroLeague. And so, again, Lyon, we need to win away. That's like, there's no excuse. You have to win that. Real Madrid, we have to try to obviously beat them. We're at home. We need to just kind of get our ball rolling and beat them. Olympiacos is going to be the interesting one because we tend to kind of struggle against Olympiacos in EuroLeague. And
Yeah.
again, the way that they're ref in EuroLeague is it's hard to play against them. You can't like they play physical and they know how to win the fouls. Like again, if there was their last game that they played, I forgot. I think it was against Barca. I sent
30,
it in the chat.
37.
Yeah, it it was crazy, man. Like if you saw that foul that they got away with, it was insane. Like I mean, and then the flops, like the flopping is crazy. Like there's no touching at all, and you tend to see this a lot on Twitter as well. I noticed that Panathinaikos fans will post these things, and then Olympiacos fans try to clap back with like the Slukas, for example, that ball that he stole against Fener. They're like slowing it down, minimizing it, zooming in of him like stealing it, it bouncing off the Fener's player foot or his own foot or something like that. And they're like, you see, it's rigged for Panathinaikos. Then you see Olympiacos fans, or you see Panathinaikos fans posting the phantom fouls that Olympiacos is getting in EuroLeague. And it's like this never-ending thing. And I'll be honest, playing against Olympiacos, I said it last time, they're really good at the free throw game. They're really good at winning these fouls. it's frustrating. They remind me of an NBA team. Like they really like foul bait, and you see like Fournier and you see Vegenkov, and they're like I think right now they might be like the top duo or the top two duo in the league with points. But it's like they're just chucking it and flying. Like they're just chucking and flying back, and the whistles are being blown. And it's like you look at the free throw discrepancies, and it's frustrating. So
I
playing
know you
against
probably
them,
you probably have more of a take on this, but like that's obviously like something that happens in the NBA too, and like players are just exploiting it, right? Like I watch the
yeah,
Bucks a lot, so like Dame does it a lot.
yeah.
Um, it's kind of like what it comes down to is like if you know it's there, why not exploit it, right? Like unless the rules are going to be changed, and that's kind of like what I'm getting at. Like the rules probably have to be addressed, right? Because players know how to exploit it, and why not? Is kind of my thing. And I'm not saying like okay they should or should not be doing it, but like if this is what you have in front of you, like why not exploit it? And that's what guys like Dame do, who are shooters and can draw the fouls and like potential 4-point play. Bazenkov, obviously. I'm not saying it's good, but there are just certain players who it just fits their game uh to exploit it, and the rules have to be addressed if it's just gonna keep going like that.
I'll be honest. I've said this before. If I was a professional player, I'd be flopping like crazy because I'd be playing the same game. You know, you play the system. The issue is, and you see this in the NBA a lot, the refs just ref certain players certain ways. You can't take away human bias. That's the issue. And for example, right, like James Harden, right, notorious for that for a long time. Jimmy Butler, another guy. You mentioned Damian Lillard, right? But then you see it happen. You know, other players try to do it. And for example, Kendrick Nunn, right? Nunn tends to not be on the good side of the refs. I've noticed a lot. Like the refs tend to ref him kind of hard and strict. I can't imagine a Kendrick Nunn foul baiting like that and not getting a tech for flopping, for example.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that's where it's like your human bias comes into play. And it's like the refs just I don't know, they have some type of thing where Vegenkov's able to sell it better. I don't know what it is. I'd try for us to do it as well. But it's also hard because it comes into like a mental thing too. Because if you're guarding and you're getting hacked and you're not getting the call, then you got a guy on their team flopping and they're getting the calls. It starts to mentally get to you. And the reason that I bring it up, it's not even like take this green cap off, right? I mean, you see Real Madrid, who of all teams is complaining, which is hilarious, right? You've got Real Madrid complaining. Zalgiris had complained about it earlier in the season. Their coach, Trinchieri, mentioned like he's like, you blow in Vejenkov's direction and they get free throws. And Barca even is another ironic team that's complaining about like the way that they're refed, and it's just frustrating. Like you see it and it's like, yeah, they're a good team. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. But it's like also how can you play against them when you can't play defense? Because you know that they're
Right.
get the foul calls. So I'm just curious. We're gonna play them in Seth. Hopefully the roof isn't gonna be leaking when we play. And we just got to try to get the statement win again. I hope that they get first place. That's kind of just my hope for them this year. Get first place, give them the little cupcake trophy for that. And then hopefully we'll be able to take care of business. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I just been watching these replays, watching these videos of it, and it's just like, yeah, Olympiacos is good, but it's kind of like, yeah, the way that they play, it's like, how can you guard them?
I mean, if you shoot 35, 40 free throws, that's almost half your points right there. It's crazy. There's so many, like after every Olympiacos game, um there's a meme that goes around about how many volleys they had. Like it is
Yeah.
crazy. It is crazy. I'm not trying to say it's not crazy. It definitely is crazy. Um there when we beat Efes, there was one that someone posted that we had. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a normal amount, maybe 15 volleys. And in the same game that Olympiacos played against FS, they had 37, over double our volleys. So
Yeah.
yes, of course you're winning that
We had
with
11.
ease. We had 11. Okay, there
We
you
had
go.
11.
11 volleys. And Olympiacos, I think, had 37 in the Adistico game with with FS 37. So that's triple the amount of goles that we had free throws.
Terrible. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
I do think some players are definitely better at it than others, like baiting the fouls. It's I don't want to say it's an art, but like I've heard people say it's kind of an art because
Mhm.
it's about how you make it look, which is something you mentioned before. For example, Dame statistically is like one of the best guys at baiting those. He's career, I think, very high up there in fouls from three, shooting fouls from three, 4-point plays, stuff like that. So it's not a coincidence. It's like you know what you're doing, and you're, like I said before, you're exploiting the rules that are at the end of the day allowing you to do that. Um, yeah, I don't know what else I have to say about that.
Alex, yeah, very good
You
point.
just have to be cognizant about it at the end of the day. Like if you know it's
Yes.
happening and you can't do anything about it, if you're going into play Olympiacos and you know Vezenkov does this and you know Olympiacos shoots 30, 40 free throws a game and you know half of those are for Vezenkov, you just have to be cognizant about it and do the best you can to minimize.
Yeah, these are the teams where it's tough to play against these kind of teams. Look at this stat: Olympiacos versus Paris. How many free throws do you think Paris shot?
And
7. Okay. How many free throws did Olympiacos shoot?
yeah, that bad.
24.
Okay. All right,
Like
that's still triple the amount,
the,
over triple the amount.
triple the amount of free throws. That's insane, right? The Barca game, I think it was a lot more close. Yeah, they shot 20, Barca shot 18. So that was pretty close. That was pretty close. Then it's like, yeah, you look at the FS game, and the FS
That's the
game,
one that had 37, right?
they shot 37 free
Yeah.
throws. FS had 13.
And how many points did they score
They scored, so Olympiacos
total?
scored 92.
92. So they had a third of their points. I know they didn't score all 37 free throws, but they had a third of their total points available via free throws.
Yeah. They lost by 3 points. FS had 89 points. I mean, at that point, that's what I'm talking about. Like you're looking at this. It's like not even green cap or anything. It's how do you play against this team when they're shooting like this many free throws? You're not getting fouled that many times. It's just not possible. Your players would be like bandaged up and beat up and everything. So when we go to play them, that's going to be kind of my concern is like, how are we going to play them in Euroleague? Because when we play them in the league, in my opinion, I think it's refed a little bit more fairly. Both teams can play physical, and I think that's fine. I like a physical game, but it's got to be the whistles have to be blown the same way. It can't just like first half we're gonna go easy on Panathinaikos, second half we're gonna go hard on them. You got to make it as consistent as possible there. So again, that'll be interesting. Um, just kind of like just wrapping things back. Um, past this whole talk. A big issue that I've noticed is like we have no paint presence. I think that's like the obvious thing because we don't have a center right now. We just have Wendy.
Yeah.
We've been linked with Daniel Theis. Um, supposedly he had agreed with Monaco yesterday, but then I read this morning that Panathinaikos like swooped in last second, made a good offer to him, and now he's trying to
DPG
decide.
did
DPG
his
did his little
push.
thing. Yeah, yeah, he did his boost. Yes, he's just smoking his cigar in the morning. He's like, okay, okay. But Theis is a guy I really liked him. He played for the Celtics for a few years. He's a stretch big. He can shoot the three. Now the nightmare with Theis, and I don't think a lot of these Panathinaikos fans know this when they're begging for him. He is a foul magnet. Like you can ask Dino, the other Celtic fan in our chat. He fouls like nobody's business, man. So it kind of
So
it
you're saying if Tice is guarding Vezenkov, it's game over.
Oh, Vishenkov's eyes are gonna glow if he sees Tice right there because that's an easy flop right there. Like it's yeah.
Uh,
That because I was seeing people they're like he's a defensive presence. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like he'll foul. I would love to have him on the team. He's a good quality player. He can rebound, things like that. But yeah, he's a foul magnet. There's this meme in the NBA. It's called the War on Tice, and they're saying it's like the refs against him because they're just sometimes it's BS, and other times I'm like I can't even defend you, man. Like you're getting those fouls. So if we get him, I mean, be prepared. I think these Panathinaikos fans are gonna have to learn a little bit about that. I think they just see NBA and they get excited, but I would like him. I would like him for sure. Um,
Yeah, I think the paint presence and the defense is obviously it's a no shit statement, but it's obviously the biggest problem. Gabriel is just kind of too hit and miss right now. Like sometimes he's really good. There was that one game where he was just locked in. I don't remember which game that was, but it was somewhat recently. It was
He did good against Betty Steady yesterday, I think it was. He got
I didn't watch
MVP.
Betty Steady yesterday, but oh, that's okay. That's good. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I think it was the
Yeah.
game against maybe it was I think it was Zalgiris where he just locked in and you could there was the frame of him on the bench and he was just do like heavy breathing like Gabriel intensifies his breathing and it was he was just a big component in that comeback win there. But then there's other games where he's just like very clumsy. I think it was
Yeah.
maybe it was the FS game or the Fener game. You could just tell like just not really contributing on defense. And if he's not contributing on defense, you've pointed out Antoni, our starting five is a very weak defensive team. Nunn, Slukas, Grant. All right, Grant is good, but other than Grant, then you're just kind of in no man's land defensively. So if you're relying so heavily on Gabriel, who is so hit and miss, then your starting five is a pretty weak defensive team and has no paint presence. So that's why I guess, like you said, Tice would help out. Other than okay, he has his drawbacks, but the five right now is a big problem, and especially not just with the inconsistency of Gabriel, but like okay, you say Gabriel's being inconsistent and clumsy. Oh, we'll just rotate him out. That's the problem. That's the problem
Yeah.
right there.
We lost Costa. That's another big
Yeah,
news. He got released, and
yeah,
it was weird because this whole time I was like the common thing for me was like play Costa, and we weren't
yeah.
seeing
I mean,
Costa
like,
playing.
listen,
And
no, no Costa's not. You're not going to rely on him either for to be your starting center, but when you're so shorthanded, you use what you have, right? And he
yeah,
just wasn't playing, and then obviously he got released kind of at the worst time.
yes.
Um,
So something must have happened. I mean, it like especially to be this desperate. We need a center, and to release him, like he wasn't even playing him, and then he released him. I don't know. I don't know who knows what could have happened.
we've
Something
we've had
serious.
Juancho at the five in a couple games,
Dinos.
Mitoglu at the five. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very makeshift right now.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I don't like Dino Dino honestly has been he's kind of sucked this season. I'll be honest. Like he kind of fell off a cliff this season,
Yeah,
unfortunately. Juancho's been good, but like again, he's too skinny to play the center.
yeah,
Um, he's not that physical, but yeah, man. I mean, just bring another body in there. Yurtseven hopefully supposed to come back. Adam is saying quicker than he thought. But Matias, I mean, again, he's been like the huge miss for us because again, like you brought up that point that I mentioned in the chat, like our starting five is not defensive. Three out of the five players in the starting five are not good defenders. So it's like we're scoring 100 points. Like we scored 104 against FS. We scored over 90 against Fenner, but it's like we were kind of leaking in threes. We're leaking in the paint. So until we get somebody in that paint, I mean, I think it's going to be a struggle for us this year. I don't think we're going to have the same like dominant run we did last year as we are this year, just because of the injuries. I mean, Grigonis, he's not a good. He's a traffic cone, like Alki always says. He's not good defensively, but that's another miss that we have. Like the injury bug caught us this year. We had to let go of Costa because I don't know what happened, and yeah, man, it's this season's gonna be a struggle a little bit. I still have hope though. I think we can make Final Four. Um, we're just gonna have to, like Adam and said, we need to win all of our home games. We can't just like drop games anymore. It's not feasible for us, because the race is so tight outside of the top four. Um, on other news, I kind of wanted to just segue this a little bit. Um, very huge news. Uh, Kendrick Nunn has dropped merch. Kendrick Nunn, ladies and gentlemen, his merch line has dropped. We're not affiliated with Kendrick Nunn at all. I'm just a huge fan of Kendrick. Um, if you go over on Instagram, he has it in his bio. I picked up a shirt. I'll be wearing it on the podcast whenever it comes. Stina Ameriki. Um, and this is just kind of my hope. Kendrick, if you're listening to this, I would love you to have an episode with us on PAO Fans International Pod. to kind of talk about your merch a little bit, talk about your time on PAO BC, and kind of how the team's been playing so far. So that's kind of our message to Kendrick Nunn there. Just wanted to kind of mention it. Um, and here's hoping, hopefully the PAO BC shop from this is somewhat related. Hopefully the PAO BC shop can start to ship to the US. It's hard for us here in America. If we want to get merchandise, we can't. You know, Panathinaikos Football Club, we can get jerseys, no problem. They ship. Panathinaikos BC, for example, we're unable to get the jersey unless we actually physically go to Greece to get them. So, PAO BC, hopefully, you know, you've got a lot of fans outside of Greece that would love to have your merchandise. So that's another shout out there. Hopefully, you can get that going for us. Uh,
And like I told you, Adoni, before we hopped on,
yeah,
the club BC is doing such an overt effort to be a global brand. They've obviously they're doing obviously they're looking to do the Pavlos Giannakopoulos tournament in Australia next year. They've all their social media posts are in English. Um the ESPN has the rights to EuroLeague in America. The app, the new app, all of this stuff. They're like clearly the NBA rumors, the NBA expansion rumors, like there's Ataman challenging the Celtics when we won last year, and the Celtics won last year. So many overt efforts to be more of a global brand, yet the store is not international. So it just doesn't line up. The vision doesn't line up. One thing is saying this, the other thing is saying this, and it just you're gonna turn to me and say, "Hey, that's typical Greeks," but I don't know. I would hope that it's not just typical Greeks because the BC is doing so much good stuff and it feels like it's better run than the average Greek team or thing or whatever. So I
yeah,
don't just want to chalk it up to this is just, typical Greek behavior, but yeah, something's not lining up, but we're the international fans. There's demand for sure. Um that's it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, PAO BC again, like Alex said as well. The club is on ESPN. There's a presence here in the United States. We have fans, a lot of Greek diaspora. We even have some fans in Brazil, if you guys remember Pau Brazil as well. Just worldwide, overall, it would be great to have Panathinaikos Basketball Club shipping out, being able to ship to the US. Again, with this presence, a lot of the players on this roster, many people here know them. Juancho, Kendrick Nunn, Jerian Grant played for the Chicago Bulls as well. We have links with, again, Daniel Theis possibly. So it would be great to have Panathinaikos BC shipping to the US. That would be my wish. I would love to pick up a Costas Lucas jersey and wear it around over here. I would love to get a Kendrick Nunn jersey as well. I would probably buy the whole starting five if we had that. But um, that's enough of me kind of rambling on about that. Did you have any like last minute thoughts before we wrap this up, Alex?
Think we're set. Just looking forward to Thursday. Like you said earlier, kind of something different this season, something that we have not been used to in over a decade and a half. We were fucking kids, bro, when we last saw Panathinaikos play European football in the following year of a European season. So the last time was Roma, if I'm not mistaken. The last knockout stage European game that we played was the infamous Roma game where Cisse and the boys put the team on their back and just
Yeah.
3-2 twice in Stadio Olimpico and in Oaxaca. Just I remember watching that game. I actually watched it with a Roma fan. Um, so much has changed in those 14, 15 years. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm just happy that we get to see us play some European football for longer than 6, 8 group stage games.
Yeah, yeah, it's been 14, 15 years since that last appearance. Here's hoping again. The positivity is that we are playing there again after 15 years playing in February. Let's hope it continues. Overall, it's been fun chatting with you, Alex. Those of you, if you're still listening, please feel free to follow us on X, follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on Instagram and Facebook as well. We're trying to spread Panathinaikos news and just information to an English speaking audience. We have a diaspora that are out there, and we're trying to grow. So please be sure to share it around with fellow fans, you guys. Thank you as always for listening. The Americans will be back in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, the team will be playing positive. Peace.